Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Mandy, and today I want to review these really amazing brushes that Golden Maple sent me. They're really very small, and I love that about them. So they are, forget what they call them. I think they're for fine detail. But they sent me this set of brushes to try, and I do a lot of like small details sometimes when I'm doing like laser cut things like the signs and earrings. I'm going to do a pair of earrings with you today. But Golden Maple is a family owned brush manufacturer since like 1990. And so their goal, of course, is to provide high quality brushes. And these brushes, even though the actual brush is small, they have a great water content and strong elasticity, and they resist splitting and like hair falling out. So let's try them today, and I'm going to list a link to them below. I will also list their YouTube channel and TikTok below, just so you can check it out. Anyway, I'm very grateful to have a chance to check them out for you. So what we're doing today is we're making some laser cut earrings that require a little bit of painting. So this is the backer for the earrings, and they have been engraved or scored. And it's hard to tell, but it says sweater weather, and it's going to have a little hot cocoa cup on it. So what I'm not doing a very good job of is being in frame. But basically, I'm just using a chalk pen to sort of distress the background white, just so it doesn't look like plain, MDF or whatever. And then we're going to use the paintbrushes to paint this cute little mug, hot cocoa mug. I'm going to paint it red in some places. And what I regret doing is trying to paint over the engraved marks. While the brushes did a pretty good job, engraving, ideally, you shouldn't have to paint over your engraving most of the time. So it actually makes it look a little bit messier, I think. So, sometimes less is more. But this is the first time I had painted these earrings, so I was kind of figuring this out. So chalk pens, if you're not familiar, chalk pens are great for distressing. So this is what the cute little cup will look like. So chalk pens are great for distressing something when you don't want it to be solid white. You don't want to mess up your engraving by like painting something titanium white, because that would mess it up. So chalk pens are great for distressing something white. So that's kind of what I'm doing. It's just kind of going around the edge, brightening up the background. And then if I wanted to distress it a darker color, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can use like Ranger distressing ink. There are various like wax crayon art crayons that you can kind of distress the edges and make them look darker again if you want. So, you're not locked into it having a whitish background, but that's what I chose to do for this, because it's not going to look perfectly white. So it's already going to be a little bit distressed. So that's the goal I had in mind. Now I did overuse the chalk paint or the chalk pen a little bit on the finished cup, and you'll see it kind of makes it look pinkish. But this was the first time I did these, so you kind of get a feel for something the first time you do it, and then you know what you would want to do differently. But what I really like about these brushes is they have these perfectly small details, and they have a lot of different sizes. So they're great if you are doing something like this, or if you do embellishing work, or you do shading, or you go on top of some artwork and do some fine tuning with brushes. I'm not a great brush painter, at least not that I haven't practiced long enough to become one. But for something like this, a paintbrush like this is great when you have a lot of colors and you don't necessarily always want to use art markers or paint markers. And that brush tip being so small allows you to get into those small details. So you'll see that I basically just distressed the cup that we're going to put on the top. So as you can see, I'm just taking the chalk pen and I'm adding it to some places, and then I'm just smudging it with my finger. And if you get too much chalk pen and it's blocking your engraving, you can like dab one of your fingers with a little bit of, just a smidge of water, and just tap it real quick. And usually if you get it quick enough, you can fix that. But what's fun about the cocoa is there's these tiny little marshmallows, and in between the tiny little marshmallows, there's a place for you to color the cocoa. Obviously, that would be really difficult to do with a paint pen without smearing it or getting it everywhere. So these brushes actually allow me to get into those tiny little details and paint the cocoa. So, you know, next time you see someone selling earrings that they've hand painted, this gives you some perspective that although the laser does a lot of the detail work, the hand painting it requires some work. So, you know, if someone gives you something like that as a gift, it's a good reason to treasure it. They probably put their heart into it when they made it for you. So now that we've got the background done, I'm going to paint the top and bottom rim of this cup and the handle red. So what I'm using for color is I have some Purely Pigment Holly Berry, which is a beautiful Christmassy red. And all I'm doing is putting a drop or two on a little plate, or in this case, an old yogurt lid. And I'm maybe putting a drop of water just to, you know, spread out how much I have to use. And I sped this up, but I'm using this tiny little brush, and look how nicely it's giving me these details. If I were to use a paint marker, I could probably do this, but I may not be able to get that level of detail with a paint marker. And I like the fact that I have so many paint colors that I can easily mix them up and use them rather than having to buy, you know, 60,000 extra markers to get all of the colors I might want for something like this. That doesn't mean that I have no use for art markers. I do. And I think that they're very useful, especially to do something quickly. But this is a nice thing to have because if I'm going to work on multiple things, I could just mix up a little bit of that color, touch up some earrings. Then while I've got that color out, I can, you know, work on some ornaments or something where I've got that color. So, and that tiny bit of red, I actually was able to do a bunch of little Santa hats, which I paused my camera because I mixed way too much just for these earrings. I paused my camera and I went ahead and mixed up a bunch of like stuff that I had that needed to be painted red, and I used up this paint. But they're great. You rinse them out. The hair isn't, you know, falling out or splitting or not holding its shape. So I'm pretty impressed with these little brushes. And I do have a link to the product in the description box below. Depending on what time, when you see this video, there may be a coupon code available or a coupon available on the link. So if you want to check them out, but they're very reasonably priced. And what was amazing is when Golden Maple reached out to me, I was pondering, I need to buy some fine detail brushes because some of the things I was working on, like I have my tiniest brush was just not working quite as well. And you can see these are getting into the small details. Now I tried to take the tiniest brush and go into that little engrave mark. And I kind of regret that, but you know, it is what it is. So you can see that this little Santa hat, just as an example, this is a little Santa hat for a different earring. I was able to get the detail on that very easily too, and just go ahead and use up my color. So I showed you that just because I was like, oh wow, these are working great. I was having a great time with them. So I also used them on some other earrings where there was a little red barn and I had to paint the detail on the barn, but I didn't get that on film. So here is where I tried to use a chocolate drop color, and I tried to just enhance the engraving. And that I think I would not do again. The thing about engraving is you kind of want to figure out your settings where you get the nice dark engraving that you want without it being so powerful that it's burning through your wood. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge. Right now for 3mm MDF, I run some settings, and I actually run 2 passes to get them a little bit darker, but I would still sometimes like them a little bit darker. But it's difficult because sometimes you don't want to burn your wood. So, you know, I'm still learning, but these are a lot of fun. I think they'll be really cute. I will go ahead and create an Etsy listing. These will be available for made to order. I'll probably have a bunch of them ready in time for Christmas. So if you're interested in this design, send me an email. My email's in the description box below. So is our Etsy shop. So what I'm also doing here is taking that brown color and very gently painting in between those marshmallows. And you can see it's just a tiny bit of definition, but it's enough where you can now tell that that's a cup of cocoa, right? But look at how detailed these brushes can get. I just love that. It's a game changer when you're doing this level of detail. But this, where I paint those little chevron looking marks, that's kind of where it goes awry for me. But they still turn out cute, and you can see it's still getting into that detail, but I just think I should have left that alone. But I hope that you like these, and I hope that if you are looking for some detailed brushes, you'll give them a shot. I think that they're good quality, and I think I'm gonna definitely get great use out of them. They also have a like multi-purpose set of brushes. You know, many artists have those. Here is a close-up of what they look like completed. And yeah, you can see I got them a little too pink, but other than that, I think they're super cute. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out the link if you're interested. Bye.